Hi there, Aries. I'm EllaAradia, and welcome to your May 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Aries fire signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's going to resonate a little bit differently for all of you. But what I find is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Aries signs. So it may show up in different areas of your lives in slightly different ways, but the theme is always the same. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoy this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Aries, let's jump in. So I always like to tune into the energies first, Aries, before I start pulling cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I like to see what comes through. Feeling like there's somebody that you're just not seeing eye to eye with at the moment. It could be a boss. I'm seeing someone, in the workplace that looks like a manager or a boss. And for some of you, this is going to be your relationship. And I'm just getting a little caution to just watch out for gaslighting, because I am feeling that energy here. I feel like this is someone that you have on multiple times for quite some time expressed your feelings, your needs, and nothing is really changing. And you're dealing with somebody here, I feel, that really struggles to take accountability. I feel like this is someone who does not like, a spotlight being shone on them. They really struggle to actually look at their insecurities, how they might be showing up, their shortcomings. And so much so that I feel like they're almost turning it back around on you and, pointing the blame back at you, to the point where I do feel that many of you are really questioning yourself. Like, am I too much? Should I have said that? Am I really, is it really valid that I'm feeling this way? I do feel like there's a lot of questioning going on. And while it's good to, have that self-awareness and, be aware of our own patterns, our own triggers, how we're showing up, just be careful that, there isn't some gaslighting going on here, because I do strongly feel that. It's almost like you're, making your feelings wrong or invalid. And there is an invitation here, I feel, to, get a lot more strongly connected to your truth areas and your true feelings, get more grounded, in who you really are here. Because your feelings are valid, your perspective is valid. With your overall energies, we have the Queen of Swords, and this is all about someone speaking their truth. I feel like that's you in this situation, and I feel like that's what I've been talking about, that you've done this many times. You have really spoken your truth, what you really want, your needs, and you've expressed that. And so you're already halfway there. You're already halfway there to really learning, these very important soul lessons, which I feel, this situation is really bringing up for you. For those of you that this is showing up in the workplace, sometimes, when we get to a point where nothing changes and we're continuously, voicing how we feel, putting that effort in, not receiving it back, or even worse, just being kind of invalidated or unappreciated, sometimes it's a sign. It's a sign that you have perhaps outgrown where you are. Perhaps it's time for a new direction. And I think it's always really important to look at, any situation in that way. Whenever something shows up in your life, There's always something that we're learning from it. There's always something it's illuminating to us. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. And, you know, it's the best way to start to resolve it, because in doing that, in looking at it in a way in which, you know, what is this an invitation for me to do, to be, to step up into? What is this illuminating? It brings that point of power back to you, where you can actually create change. And I do feel like you stayed in something here longer than you should have done, something that, you know, is unhealthy. There's something out of balance here. And you stayed there in the hopes of something changing. What lies in your recent past is the sun, clarity, success, happiness. It's also a very potent energy of creation, potential. Your current energies, the Eight of Swords, feeling stuck. You know, this is a card that often represents feeling like, you know, you're in some kind of, let's say, mental prison. Feeling very stuck in this situation, you know, will something change? Is it still worth, you know, continuing, putting my energy into? Or is it time to move on? And I definitely feel that's where you're at right now, and feeling quite conflicted. Your feelings towards your situation, the Page of Wands. Some kind of new beginning, and one that, you know, really does involve, I feel, following your heart, following your inspiration. In the Challenge, the Three of Pentacles. So for many of you, this is going to be career related, because I do get a strong energy around that, you know, challenges in the workplace, because the Three of Pentacles is a card of collaboration and, you know, working together with others, you know, each person sharing, you know, their unique gifts, their knowledge, their experience, but towards a common goal. That's the thing. You know, it's a collaboration. And, you know, when that shows up in the challenge position, I do feel like that is relating strongly to, you know, feeling like things are, you know, very unbalanced in that sense in the workplace. You're showing up, you're giving it your all, and you're not receiving back what you're really needing from that and what you should be receiving back. You're not being acknowledged and appreciated for the gifts and the experience and the qualities that you have, you know, what you bring to the table. In your hidden influence, we have Temperance, which is a card of healing, balance, moderation. And I always feel that, you know, this is when there really are some important soul lessons to learn in a situation where there is a calling here to really integrate whatever it might be that's holding you back from, you know, moving in to a better place in yourself, you know, moving in, embracing these energies of new potential, new beginnings, you know, with this Page of Wands, some kind of, you know, action that is needing to be taken, and one that you know, you really do need to follow from your heart, from your inspiration. But there's something blocking this. And, you know, the swords represent our mental landscape, and they represent, you know, negative beliefs, thoughts that might be holding you back. They might be beliefs that you're holding about yourself or about life. And all of that can be changed. And always with this card, you know, there is an invitation to drop out of your mind and into your heart. and really listen to what your heart's saying in this situation. And letting go of any fears that, you know, are really holding you back at this point, because I very much get the sense you have outgrown whatever this is. You know, it's got to the point where it's affecting your happiness, your fulfillment. And I'm not all that sure that the person that you're dealing with is ready or able to change. That's a very strong energy that I feel. And I do feel like there's a calling to perhaps take a different path at this point, to really look at the reality of the situation here, because the Queen of Swords is an energy which cuts through illusions to bring the truth. And you're being asked, you know, not only to express your truth, but to see, you know, the truth of this situation. Sometimes we get a little bit caught up in potentials and dreams, or what we thought something or somebody was going to be for us, you know, how we thought the story was going to end. But I feel like, you know, that some time has passed. You know, this is the Eight of Swords. There's history here. This has been going on for a while, and it's starting to be at the cost of your own happiness here. I feel like you're just dealing with someone, you know, for those of you that this relates to love, I feel like there's some behaviors, you know, some sabotage, negative behaviors, letting you down, you know, not showing up when they said they would. And I just feel like they've made other people, other things a priority a lot of the time. Some of you may even be dealing with a third-party situation, because in a love reading, the Three of Pentacles can indicate a third-party situation. Now, that can be a romantic one, but it can also be a family member or somebody that has, you know, a big career focus, where they're just not giving you that quality time. But all of it just feels like, you know, behaviors, patterns of behavior, which are a protection around, first of all, taking accountability, second of all, opening up to, you know, a deeper love, let's say. Because then that involves being seen, and that involves, you know, somebody looking at, you know, their own issues and their part to play in this. And of course, you know, moving forwards, always do what feels right for you. You know, this is only ever just a guide for you. But I do have a big question around, you know, will anything actually ever change here? And, you know, perhaps it's time to move on. And maybe this has all just been a lesson rather than a life partner. So with your advice from the universe, we have the Nine of Wands. So this is, you know, almost a completion of perhaps a difficult chapter, a challenging chapter. Like I said before, I feel like this is somebody that you have invested in. You know, there's history there. This has been going on for quite some time. But it's got to the point of exhaustion for you. And like the figure in the card, it's got to the point where there is absolutely a cost. You know, you're carrying something, and that's your energy, you know, which I feel is starting to get a little bit drained. So you're at the point of an exhaustion here, and it's so important, I feel, to really look after yourself in this and do, you know, what feels right. But after this, you know, does come a 10, does come an ending of a chapter, perhaps something that you have been feeling, you know, that you're carrying. There might be some obligations. You may still feel obligated, you know, to whatever job this is or company, to the relationship in some way. but it's definitely at a cost to your energy. And I feel like this is why everything has got so highlighted to you, because it's got to the point where change is needed here, and you need to look after your energy in this. You need to look after your heart. You need to look after your emotional needs. And sometimes when a pattern is about to break, when we're about to really embody these soul lessons and the pattern's about to break, it gets really intense, just before that happens. So you're nearly through to the other side. And, the most important thing I feel is to really listen to your heart here. Stay true to you. Don't settle for less, even if it means walking away, because maybe that's what you are meant to do, because maybe there is actually a different path for you here. So in your outcome, we have the Four of Swords, which is all about just taking a step back right now and taking some time out. This is a card of healing, restoring your energy, reclaiming your power. And for me, very often when we're feeling stuck, in the mind, and we really just don't know what we want. We don't know what to do. We're out of touch with our true feelings. This is what the Four of Swords is all about. It's about taking a step away, taking some time out for yourself to just be still. Like, there's no rush. This is a card which is all about letting the truth emerge, from these moments of silence. Because when there is, chaos all around you and all this conflict that I was seeing at the beginning, it's pretty hard to really get in touch with, what you truly want here. So that will arise when you take some time out. You just allow yourself to be still. And, in doing that, that's really where truth will, come into your awareness, and you will come out of that, knowing, I feel, what your next steps forward are. So Aries, I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.